My name is Alex de Mocskonyi, and I am currently leading sales and business operations at TrustRadius. And TrustRadius, essentially, it's the Yelp of enterprise software. So it empowers buyers and sellers to, really, on the buyer side, empower the buyer to make educated decisions on what software to source, and on the seller side, being able to understand, better, more transparent feedback on their products. So in the past, what they were kind of doing to try to operationalize MEDDPICC methodology in Salesforce was just a handful of custom fields where they would try to gather the information for all the elements of MEDDPICC on the opportunity records, and it didn't really have any value add for management or for the sales reps themselves. The more rigid you go with rules in this kind of information system, the more you're going to see data just kind of being thrown in there just to meet a requirement. And at that point, it's a waste of time, and then it's a headache down the road because you don't have good data to analyze. Salespeople just want to close the deal. They just want to make their money, and I get it. And so the idea here was I wanted to hand something to the VP of sales that would let him better evaluate pipeline and forecast health. But on the other side of that, also something that the AEs and the AMs could look at and say, okay, really, this is the true pulse of my deal. What would happen on a weekly basis is we would do a forecast and pipeline review with our AEs and AMs. We would take all these different things that they were filling out in Salesforce, and each rep had a copy of this Excel sheet that they would fill out with a new tab for each deal to calculate the MEDDPICC score of that deal, right? And so it really was the clunkiest way to do this. And the worst thing about it to me is there's no way to track it, and there was no way to see progress like week over week. So the kind of prep work that you would anticipate having to do in the past without a tool like this is, okay, I need to look at their notes. I'm going to go through the opportunity. I'm going to look at all the notes. I'm going to view the past, activities and events that are logged in Salesforce, and maybe even go into Chorus and listen to the call that they had prior to this one. And you have to do some prep work and do some homework before you get on these calls, right? This gives us a way to accomplish that a lot quicker. We're able to jump in there and see, okay, here's our champion. So that's who I know that I can talk to a little bit more freely on the phone, or, this is our point of contact, but they're really skeptical. So I need to be a lot more conservative there. It gives us the ability to all be aligned and in lockstep before we get on those calls. Specifically for us, identifying more of those contact roles and getting, more clarity into that has been, I think, the biggest win for us. You could do it before with the built-in contact roles, but with how you guys have it set up with the org chart and the additional information that can be added to those contact roles, the pulse of each contact, how they feel about us, whether it's they're neutral or they're a champion, et cetera, et cetera. That, I think, has been one of the biggest value adds for us. We can look back and we can see closed won versus closed lost. We can see, okay, the reason that this deal was torpedoed is because we had this contact role on this opportunity that was really against it. On the flip side of that, we can also see this is why we're winning here. We have this champion who has this role and seniority at the company, who sees the value and buys in quickly. And we need to focus in the future on doing things like this and avoiding things on the flip side. One of my big things that I really try to drive in Salesforce, but also in operations in general, is making sure that we leave a paper trail, a really good one. So if we have to look back, we can learn from it. Because there's a lot of ways that you can look back without a tool like this that aren't really going to give you a whole lot of an idea of why things went wrong. Forecasting. But before, it was really tough for him to, on a weekly basis, and even sometimes more than that, he would have to be going back and forth with his AEs and AMs to ask about deals and really the pulse of those deals. And now it's as easy as he's got a report that I've put together for him that is powered by iSEEit, and he can go through that prior to the weekly forecast call with the A's and AMs, and anytime he wants to reference it and see where things are at. I love Salesforce, but there's just not a lot that they give you out of the box that really can allow you to have not just the granular view of a deal, but also being able to roll that up and see how that translates into your total pipeline and forecast, right? And so this really helps us, kind of do a sanity check on these deals. Okay, this is sitting in legal, and for us, that's going to be a probability of 90, and that would have it in commit forecast category. What's the iSEEit score? Let's do our reality check, our sanity check. If the iSEEit score is less than 70, no, we're not going to have that in commit. We need to bump that back to best case or just back to pipeline in general. We need to be able to, call what we're calling with confidence. And this gives not just the rep, but, the sales leader, the ability to call stuff with confidence. What I would say to other operations leaders is that if you have any hesitations or reservations, look at what potential value this tool could add to your business, and think about, is it really worth trying to put everything together custom, all that time that can take and all the trial and error, when you can source a tool like this at a great, not just great, but excellent price point that's easy to get set up. This was done over the weekend. We had this up and running literally over the weekend. What you get for what you give is going to be really the biggest value prop. It's not an unreasonable price point, and you get so much out of the tool. And I can't stress that enough. And that's not something that is really ever the reality for someone in my seat. Typically, you're always going to be looking at a massive project to get something like this up and running, and the ease of use, not just for the end user but the admin, is really it's unprecedented. You want this kind of tool to be a value add to both the manager and the subordinate. If either one of those parties is not benefiting, then it's not worth it. But this tool benefits both